Peace and blessings, everyone. Yes. Let me make sure that I'm properly set up this time today, because yesterday I thought that I was sharing my screen, and turns out I was not sharing my screen until we got closer to the end of the broadcast. So I just want to make sure that that does not happen again, because the whole point is for me to be able to share the information with you. So if you'll just give me just one moment to get set up. And we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Tamara T. Bush, and during the month of May, I'm going to be providing clarity on consumer laws. We're talking about the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and Truth in Lending. And then we'll also go into the Gramm-Leach-Bailey Act, which is your privacy. So I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday in the FCRA. And I want to go over the part that I went over yesterday because I was not sharing my screen, and I want you all to be able to look up the laws that I'm providing and study them as well, so that you'll be able to gain an understanding in terms of what's going on, right? What's really going on, the things that we don't know until we read it. And something that many think that we will never read. So they always say, if you want to hide something from somebody, put it in the book. And so that is so true, because a lot of these things are, a lot of these laws are in the fine print of the documents that we sign during, like the normal course of business of when we're taking advantage of credit products, and we just simply do not know. We're not informed of our rights. We're not told what we're supposed to do as consumers in order to be able to take advantage of the, the lending and the loan products that are out there that's going to most benefit us. Oftentimes we feel as though we have no other option. We feel as though we're back into a corner because, we need what we need, but we don't know any other way to go about getting the things that we need. We're thinking that the things that we are entitled to is solely based on a FICO score. And I'm here to tell you otherwise, not just based on your FICO score. So a lot of the times we don't realize that we have other choices in terms of what we need to do to survive. So again, I'm just here to provide clarity, because as I gain more clarity, I want you all to have the clarity that I have so that you can take and implement this information in your own life, and then you can pass this information along to your child. Okay, so let me check, because I am sharing my screen. I want to make sure that you all can actually see my screen. So I'm going to check Facebook just to make sure that you all can actually see my screen this time. Okay. I gotta make sure that I'm live streaming because I don't see myself. All right, so let me go ahead and share this broadcast out. Give me just a moment. Just a moment. Share this on a few platforms here. And if you all can see and hear me, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. And tell me where you're watching from. Put your city and state in the chat as well. Put your city and state in the chat. Okay. And all right, I do see myself. I still don't see that my screen is being shared yet. So let me see here. All right, cool beans. I think we are good to go. We are. All right, we're good to go. And if you think that this is information that could be beneficial to someone that you love, definitely take the time to share out this live. You never know who's out there wanting to learn this type of information. Okay, so yesterday we were in the FCRA, which is Title 15, Chapter 41. And this is 15 USC 1681, Congressional Findings and Statement of Purpose. So I'm going to go back through this because, again, yesterday I wasn't fully sharing my screen. I want to make sure that you all can actually read along with me, right? So congressional findings, anytime that you see this term, that means that Congress has found something. That means that they have an abundance of evidence that something is taking place. So congressional findings, this is coming from Congress. They wrote these laws, okay? Congressional findings and statement of purpose. The Congress makes the following findings. The banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting. Inaccurate credit reports directly impair the efficiency of the banking system. Now, this is something that we pretty much know and understand on its face, right? We know that if we cannot get approved for the products and services being offered by these financial institutions, then it is going to impact people on both sides of the spectrum, right? It's going to impact the bank and it's going to impact us as well. But on the flip side of that, if you as a consumer lose confidence in the banking system, the financial system, that is going to impair the relationship and things that you're trying to build for your life. So basically what Congress is saying here is that, listen, we know that you being able to get the things that you need as a consumer is going to continue to keep this system going, right? It's going to keep the system going. And we know that if you are violated, it creates unfair credit reporting and it undermines the public confidence. That's you. You are the consumer. You are the one that has to have confidence in this system in order to take advantage of it. So if you don't have confidence in the system and that is going to work for you, you're not going to want to go and try to even get what you need because you know that you're not going to get approved because there is a deficiency in the way that this whole system is set up, right? It's like it's not set up for us. All right, Congress has found that an elaborate mechanism has been developed. So what did I say yesterday? Congress says elaborate mechanism. This is how they are defining the credit reporting agencies. They define it as an elaborate mechanism that has been developed for investigating and evaluating the credit worthiness, standing, capacity, character, and general reputation of you, a consumer. So yesterday we said that Congress does not back these companies. These companies are regular corporations and LLCs, same company that you file with your Secretary of State, right? These are not agencies that are backed by the government. They are not mandated by the government, nor does the government support their activities. They're just regular companies, right? Just regular companies. So Congress defines them as an elaborate mechanism. So why does that elaborate mechanism have control over your livelihood? They have more control than what we give them. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian has way more control than what we give them. And how we take back that control is by learning consumer law, the FCRA, right? Because this law is what governs Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, all right? Okay, so yesterday I also spoke about some of these, I went into some of these definitions. We stated that a person means any individual, partnership, corporation, trust, estate, so on and so forth. So Congress defines a person as an entity. Yes, a person can be an individual like you and me, but a person can also be an entity, right? And so when we're looking at these laws, we know when they speak about a person or people, they're speaking about a corporation or an entity that is, number one, may possibly be violating you, and number two is not following the laws that have been laid out by Congress, right? Okay. We talked about what a consumer report is. What is a consumer report? Oral, written, any other form of communication. So when you think of your consumer report, it's not just about Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. We also spoke about your criminal report because it means any means all. When you're reading the laws, it's like a language inside of a language, right? So you literally have to look at each word within a sentence to get the full context of the meaning. So any means all. So that means it includes the reports furnished by Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. It also includes your criminal report, which is your history. It also includes your medical report. It's still a written report on you as the consumer, right? It's still a written report. So the reason why I bring this up is because we think that we're only able to dispute information that appears on our consumer report being reported by Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. But all of these are considered to be consumer reports. So are you not able to dispute information that's on your criminal report or on your medical report? They're all reports that are governed by the FCRA. All right, because what does it say? They create these reports, right? They're consumer reporting agencies. So let's correct the language. They're not bureaus because they're not regulated by the federal government. The only bureaus are the CFPB and the FBI. Consumer reporting agency bearing on a consumer's creditworthiness, standing, capacity, character, general reputation, personal characteristics, right? Doesn't your criminal report or your criminal record reflect that of your general reputation? All right, it's your general reputation. All right, so letter D is talking about, it's basically defining the consumer report, okay? So let's go down to the next section. This is in general. The next section speaks about exclusions. So it's basically telling you what should not be on a consumer report. It says, except as provided in paragraph 3, the term consumer report does not include. It's clear as day. Report containing information solely as to the transactions or experiences between the consumer and the person making the report. What's a transaction experience? Virtually every transaction that you have with the bank. Every transaction. If you're making a payment on a mortgage, any type of loan, any type of credit card. If you have a bank account that it goes into a negative balance and they go after you for a charge off, that's a transaction. That is an experience. So Congress is basically telling you that your consumer report does not include report containing information solely as to the transactions or experiences between the consumer, you, me, we're the consumer, and the person making the report. So who did we say the person was? The person is the individual, partnership, corporation, trust, the state, cooperative, association, government or governmental subdivision, or agency or other entity. So they're telling you who the person is, who the people. So, it's so funny because when you have conversations with people and you be like, man, they did this and they did that. And somebody will look at you and say, well, who is they? Now you know who they is. Now you know who they are. They are the persons, the people. You can say the people, right? That are constantly violating you. So this is basically saying that this information should not be there. So then why is the information there? Why is there things on your credit report right now that you don't want to be there? When Congress is telling you that it's not supposed to be there. They're telling you that it's not supposed to be there. All right. I won't go any deeper into that chapter because I want to be able to move to the next section from yesterday. Okay, so 1681B, and the way that you read this is 15 USC, that's United States Code, 15 USC 1681B, permissible purposes of consumer reports. And again, your consumer report is any report, written or verbal, about you that talks about your qualifications, talks about your general reputation, all of those things. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure that this video is streaming because I don't see that it really streaming. All right. Okay. I'm not going to leave y'all behind. I need to make sure that you all can see my screen because I want you to go and look this stuff up on your own and don't go based on what I'm telling you. All right. Permissible purpose. Permissible purpose. Okay. What does permissible mean? That means permission. Permission of consumer reports. Might as well just say it, how the definitions fall. It says permissible purposes of consumer reports. So what does that mean? Any consumer reporting agency may furnish a consumer report under the following circumstances and no other. Pay attention to the and no other. So the and no other, Okay, let's stop there for a second. That means you do it this way or you do it no way. And no other. And no other. All right, in response to the order of a court having jurisdiction to issue such an order. Okay, so that's a subpoena. Credit reporting agencies, they can only provide copies of credit reports under a subpoena in accordance with the written instructions of the consumer to whom it relates. So who is the consumer to whom it relates? Who is the consumer to whom it relates? That's you, that's me. We are the consumer to whom it relates. So you mean to tell me that I have the option to opt out from the CRAs and providing a copy of my credit report until I give them explicit written permission? Now, I know you all are probably like, well, okay, number 3 says to a person which it has reason to believe intends to use the information in connection with the credit transaction involving the consumer on whom the information is to be furnished. Okay, that's all well and good. But you can't get to part 3 until you have satisfied the requirement under part 2. You can't get to part 3 until you've satisfied that requirement. So it doesn't matter that you went into the bank or dealership or whomever to apply for the car, even though you know that you went and applied for that thing, whatever the thing is, in order for the CRAs to release your credit report, you still needed to provide them with written explicit permission. Ring, ring. Does that make sense? You still needed to notify the CRAs that they have permission to release your information before they release your information. I thought I turned this down. Before they release your information. Not after, it's supposed to be before they release your information. Yeah, it's before. So they have the audacity to release your information without your permission. They release your information without your permission. All right, so I'm not going to read that whole definition, but I wanted to just get into permissible purposes so you know that these banks and financial institutions really is not supposed to do anything without your written explicit permission. But the way that they have this system set up is so fine-tuned and automated, and we're so conditioned to the fact of what the process is when we go to apply for new credit products that we don't realize that when they sent the credit report to the bank or whoever to pull your credit to see if you qualify, that they violated your rights. And part of the issue with that too is that they have assumed the role, because remember yesterday, what did I say? Congress said that the CRAs, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax have assumed a vital role. They've assumed a vital role. All right, let's go back. Hold on. go back to this one. Where is it? It's number 3. This is the one that I read yesterday. Consumer reporting agencies have assumed a vital role in assembling and evaluating consumer credit and other information on consumers. They define them as an elaborate mechanism who have assumed a vital role. So they weren't appointed, they were not mandated or backed by Congress or the government. These are independent business owners. They started out as small businesses, right? Now they've grown into these conglomerate, big old gigantic corporations who are literally virtually making money off of buying and selling your information on a daily basis. They literally make billions of dollars off of you and you don't even know it. You don't even know. And so anytime that we go and apply for something, anytime that you have a transaction or payment experience that's reported, it doesn't matter if you know that you applied for the thing that's reporting on your credit report. Because in the court of law, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And the thing of the matter is as soon as that financial institution takes it upon themselves to report something to a third party, to a non-affiliated third party, because we went over that yesterday, we spoke about non-affiliated third parties. So as soon as they take it upon themselves to go and report information to a non-affiliated third party, that then becomes a transaction between that corporation and that non-affiliated third party. It was a monetary transaction that doesn't have anything to do with you, because you're just out conducting business, private business, right, with another person, and it's a transaction or experience that Congress is saying should not be included on your consumer report. So when they take that, when they violate your privacy and take that information and sell it to the CRAs, that then becomes a separate transaction that has nothing to do with you. So the fact that the CRAs are reporting information from these banks and these financial institutions, they've created their own revenue stream from this that doesn't have anything to do with you. And even if you go and apply for something and you don't get approved, anything that appears on your credit report is evidence that a consumer credit transaction took place, right? Who got paid from that transaction is a totally different story. Because even if you went and applied for something and you did not get approved, when that inquiry shows up on your credit report, your credit was still sold to someone and someone made money and benefited off of your credit. It just was not you. It just wasn't you. All right, so let's go on to 1681. Actually, let's go on to 1681. Let's see. And this will probably be the last one that I cover for today, because I want to point something for you. And this is just to piggyback off of my most recent point that I made when I said, look, when these banks go and sell your information to a CRA, credit reporting agency, that then becomes a transaction between you and that becomes a transaction between that bank and that CRA that doesn't have anything to do with you, right? So let's ponder on that for a second. If we know that, if we know that these banks have to have our permission, our explicit written permission, in order to report any non-public personal information on our credit report, if they take your information and compile a file on you that is supposed to represent you, that you didn't have anything to do with, isn't that identity theft? Isn't that identity theft? If they took your information, that you provided in a private, non-public transaction, because that's what it was. It's a it's a private, non-public transaction. So if they took your information and created this report on you that is supposed to represent you, didn't they steal your identity? A lot of people get hung up with credit repair because there's a lot of people in the industry that file FTC affidavits for identity theft. And when they do that, and this is something that I had to learn because I used to frown upon people doing that as well until I gained an understanding of the way that consumer law works and how you have a right to privacy as a consumer. You have a right to privacy. So isn't any information that is reported without your permission considered identity theft? They took that information and created this report that's supposed to give a it's supposed to be a profile of who you are and your creditworthiness, your general reputation, right? So if we said that, let's see, yesterday we said when we talked about the Graham-Leach-Bailey Act that these companies are supposed to give you the option to opt out prior to the information being reported. And I was waiting to see if somebody was going to come in the chat and say, oh, no, I never saw that before. Because we know that this is not happening. We know that these companies are not giving us no documentation about opting out, period, point blank. They already know. You know that that's not happening. They will never do that because they're not in the business of losing money. They make money off selling your information. They make money off of selling your information. And businesses, they're not in the business of losing money. So they will never tell you that you have the option to opt out. All right, so let me go back to the one that I was about to speak about. And this is going to be 15 USC 1681C-2. My screen again so you all can see this. All right, and remember, this is Cornell Law School. So when you go and Google these laws, hey Myrna, when you go and Google these laws, Cornell Law is going to be the first thing that pops up at the top of your screen. This is always going to be it. So back to what I was saying about identity theft. So if you know that you are supposed to receive disclosures that gives you the ability to opt out from credit reporting prior to the information being reported, and you did not provide written or verbal explicit permission for these consumer reporting agencies to report any of the information from a private, non-public transaction experience. Now, mind you, listen to the terminology that I'm using because I'm literally just recapping the law for you that I just went over yesterday and today, right? Because it's not necessarily in knowing the code to the law. You have to understand the terminology and speak the same language that the law is speaking, and that is going to be interpreted by a judge, if you have to go to court or so have it. Right, so isn't that identity theft when your non-public private information is reported without your permission? Please tell me, because this is how I look at it. So like I was saying before, years and years and years of people who have done credit repair have been using the FTC report, the Federal Trade Commission report, and reporting identity theft. And this is why that process works and people don't go to jail for reporting identity theft. Think about it. Think about it. Why are people not going to jail for reporting identity theft when in the conventional sense of identity theft, we think of, oh my God, I lost my wallet. Somebody has my driver's license, or somebody's using my debit card without permission, or someone went into a store and used my name and they're not me. So that is the conventional sense of what we think identity theft is, but it's so much more deeper than that. It's deeper than that. This is the reason why people in the credit repair industry are successful at using the FTC to get items removed off of their credit report claiming identity theft. Because these people know, and when I say they, I'm talking about the persons as defined in 1681A. A person is defined as an entity or an individual, right? So when I say they, I'm talking about these corporations. I'm talking about these corporations, right? That's what I mean when I say they. So they know, these people know that they're stealing your identity. They know that they don't know what you know. So they'll go ahead and report these or delete these items. Whatever you're asking to be deleted, they'll delete it off your credit report, no questions asked. They will delete it because it's not about theft of the identity in terms of the way that we're used to understanding it, right? That's the part that we have to unlearn. And this is what you'll learn when providing more clarity of consumer law, because we literally have to unlearn what we think we know and adopt this new language in our mind to understand what's really going on, right? So identity theft is when someone, anyone, we're not talking about the criminal that's waiting in the shadow in the alley that stole your wallet. We're talking about corporate criminals. We are talking about white collar crime, corporate criminals who have constructed these companies that make billions of dollars every year off of buying and selling your information without your permission. And they stole your information. They stole the information that you verbally spoke to someone in confidence when you were doing a private consumer credit transaction. They stole the information that you filled out on that application that you submitted. And they took and they created this profile, this AKA credit report, without you knowing. And you mean to tell me I'm not supposed to look at that as being identity theft? No. Okay, so when we get into 15 USC 1681C2, block of information resulting from identity theft. Okay, so except as otherwise provided in this section, a consumer reporting agency shall block the reporting of any information in the file of a consumer that the consumer identifies as information that resulted from an alleged identity theft not more than 4 business days after the date of the receipt by such agency of. Okay, so what does that say? You as the consumer, what does that say? The CRA is supposed to block this information not more than 4 days. Not more than 4 days. Okay. Under what conditions are they supposed to block this information? Or I'm sorry, let me go back. What are the qualifications that they need in order to complete your request when you notify them? Okay, so they're supposed to block information that you identify as identity theft not more than 4 days after the date of receipt of appropriate proof of identity, copy of an identity theft report, which is, that's going to be on the FTC website, right? That's going to be on the FTC website. Let's see if I can pull it up for you. Hopefully my screen share won't mess up this time. All right, I'm let's go see that. That's not much. Right. All right. Trying to get to the actual form. And identity theft. Identity theft. I think that's going to take me to the FAQ. And that is going to take me somewhere else. I would like to report an identity theft. All right. So why do you think that this is here? It is for you to be able to report when your information is being used without your permission. And we're not just speaking about physical theft. We're talking about the scenario that I just described where companies are using your information without your consent because you did not provide them with written explicit permission to report that information. You didn't, and you know you didn't, because you know that they didn't give you anything to tell you that they needed permission from you. So you know that these people didn't ask for your permission. All right. So it says copy of an identity theft report. So that's what this is, an identity theft report, right? The identification of such information by the consumer. Okay, so then what information on your consumer report do you feel is identity theft? You have to lay it out. The name, the account number, you got to give them specifics, right? A statement by the consumer that the information a statement by the consumer that the information is not information relating to any transaction by the consumer. Let's sit on this real quick. This number 4. Let's sit on that real quick. Now, earlier in this broadcast, and just remember to be sharing this broadcast out to people who you think will benefit from this information, right? What did we say earlier? When you are conducting a private consumer credit transaction with another person, i.e. entity, that is a private transaction. It's a private transaction. As soon as that transaction as soon as that transaction experience is reported to a non-affiliated third party, that then becomes a transaction between the bank or the furnisher of that information and the third party entity to whom which that information was furnished, right? So how does that have anything to do with you? Did you give them permission to do that? Did you tell them to do that? Did you make any money off of that transaction? I'm sure 100% of the time the answer is no. We don't make money when the bank sells our information to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. We don't make any money. And so again, your information is being sold and used without your permission, and you did not benefit from that transaction. You were not involved in that transaction. And I want you all to wrap your mind around this. Wrap your mind around this. Because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, wait a minute. I did go in and I applied for the loan. So how was I not involved in that transaction? Identity theft occurred. A separate transaction that did not include you occurred. Your transaction was between yourself and the person. A second transaction occurred between the person and the third party the non-affiliated third party. So as soon as something happens between parties 2 and 3, party 1, you're not involved in that anymore. That don't have anything to do with you. So this is what they need from you in order for them to delete and block the information that resulted from the alleged identity theft not more than 4 business days after the receipt of notice. Right? And this is how you can put that statement in your letter to them in good conscience, because you know that you did not give these people permission to report any of your information. They took your information, they transferred it to a non-affiliated third party without your permission and created this profile that is supposed to represent you that you did not approve of. So is that not identity theft? It's identity theft. So I like this section right here because it literally tells you what the requirements are. It tells you what the requirements are in order for you to get these items removed off your credit report. Right? And I didn't go deep into, the different scenarios in terms of credit. Oh, if it's a late payment, or that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because mind you, when you are going after an account, we're talking about a whole account, get a loan or a credit card, and you're stating that you want these people to remove this information off of your report because it's resulted from alleged identity theft, when they remove it, they're going to remove the whole account. And then the account is gone. So then if you have an account that has some age on it, you know, or something that if removed is going to tank your score, you have to pick and choose your battles in this process, right? And you want to make sure that you maintain your data points on your credit report. So you have to be very careful of the accounts that you go after. The easiest ones to go after are inquiries. Just a little side note. I don't know if y'all gonna catch that, but maybe you'll catch it. But yeah, so yeah, I wanna end here. I could literally keep going. But I'm trying to give you all a little bit of information at a time, because when I start getting deep into these laws, it's gonna appear to be very overwhelming, but it's my job and my purpose to provide clarity. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that we get through all the pertinent parts of these laws, the FCRA, the FDCPA, and truth in lending, because these are literally the laws that have been written to protect us. But in order for us to be protected, we have to enforce them. And in order for us to enforce them, we have to know them. And in order for us to know them, we have to study. And in order for us to study, we have to read. And a lot of people just don't read anymore. We just don't read. All right, so I'm going to end it there. Again, this is Tamara T. Bush. Please share out this broadcast. During the month of March, I'm going to be providing clarity on consumer protection and consumer laws. So come and study with me, join in the conversation. Share that you've been able to, look at some of these laws and read them and, possibly gain another understanding and bring your perspective back to the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I hope you all will have a blessed evening. I will see you all tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. All right. Peace and blessings, everyone.